Hello, everyone. We're going to be working on capacity today, and we're going to be using the gallon guy that you made yesterday. Mine looks like this. Yours might have been hand drawn. Whatever you chose to do, this is what we're going to be using it for today's lesson. Before we get started, though, I really wanted to just talk briefly about the difference between capacity and volume. According to the HISD website, and for purposes of third grade math, there really is not going to be much difference between the words and terms capacity and volume. I know that there is a difference, but that's something that you'll learn way down the road, middle school and high school. For purposes of third grade math, we will be using the words capacity and volume interchangeably. The only difference is when referring to capacity, we're measuring in the customary measuring system. When we refer to volume, we're measuring in the metric system. So you need to use the appropriate units for each of those terms for capacity and volume. But otherwise, we're going to be using those two terms interchangeably. I do want to talk about what it says on the HISD website, which is obviously what the TEA has guided us to teach. Capacity, I'm reading this straight from the website. Capacity is the amount a container can hold. The amount a container can hold. So it's not the actual amount of liquid that's in the container, it's just how much the container can hold. So when used in a sentence, you might say something like, the container is filled to maximum capacity, meaning it is filled up all the way. The container can hold a gallon. If you buy a brand new gallon of milk, it is filled to capacity, to its maximum capacity. Liquid volume, according to the HISD website, is the amount of space a liquid occupies. So it's not how much the container can hold. If you have a gallon container, or really, because we're talking about the metric system, you'd say you have a liter graduated cylinder. It's not that the graduated cylinder can hold a liter, it's how much liquid is actually in the graduated cylinder would be the liquid volume. So again, capacity is the amount, I'm reading it straight off of the website, the amount a container can hold. Liquid volume is the amount of space a liquid occupies. Those are the differences between the definitions, but for purposes of third grade, we're going to be talking about the words capacity and volume interchangeably, with the only difference being the unit that we use for capacity is the customary measuring system units, and then when we are talking about volume, we're using the metric system. So today we're going to be talking about a little bit more about capacity, and we're going to be using the gallon guy. There are only 4 units that you need to know for the customary measuring system for capacity. That is gallon being the largest unit. You've got quart, which is the next largest unit, pint, and then cup is the smallest unit. So the way this guy works, this gallon guy, trying to get this correct again, the way that the gallon guy works is gallon is the largest unit. As the pictures, the letters get smaller, that is the smaller unit. So inside the gallon, you have 4 quarts. 1, 2, 3, 4. So a question might ask, how many quarts are in a gallon? Well, the key words being in a gallon, take a look inside the gallon. How many quarts are in the gallon? 1, 2, 3, 4. So there are 4 quarts in a gallon. Okay, next we're going to go down to the next smallest unit, which is pint. So how many pints are in a quart? So now you have a quart here. How many pints are in a quart? You've got 1 pint and another pint. These 2 P's are inside the quart. So how many pints are in a quart? In a are the key words telling you to look inside of that unit. Now you might have another question that says how many pints are in a gallon. So you're going to be looking for how many P's you see inside of the G for gallon. How many pints are in a gallon? So let's count how many P's we see inside the gallon. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So the answer to the question, how many pints are in a gallon? There are 8 pints in a gallon. Now that also could be said, how many pints does it take to equal a gallon? So if all you had was pints to measure with, but you wanted to have the same amount of liquid as a gallon, you would have to fill up 8 pint-sized containers to fill the same amount of space that a gallon container would take up. Okay. How many cups are in a pint? There are 2 C's inside the P. So 1, 2 are inside of the P. So there are 2 cups in a pint. How many cups are in a quart? So if we're looking for in a quart, we're going to look inside of one of the Q's. Inside of 1 quart, let's count how many C's we have. 1, 2, 3, 4. So there are 4 cups in a quart. How many cups are in 2 quarts? So in 2 quarts is 1, 2. Here we have our 2 quarts, and I'm going to count how many cups are in those 2 quarts. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So the answer to that question is 8 cups. How many cups are in a gallon? So we have a big G here, big G for gallon, and I want to know how many cups are in the gallon or in a gallon. So the big G, I want to count how many C's are inside of this whole gallon. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. There are 16 cups in a gallon. Okay? We can ask any number of questions. As long as we understand this picture, we can ask any question and just count them up. All you have to do is count. You can also use your reference materials. It gives you the same information here for how many cups are in a pint, pints are in a quart, quarts are in a gallon. The only thing that's not covered on the gallon guy or gallon gal or whatever you have named it, the only thing that is not covered is the fluid ounces. There are 8 fluid ounces in 1 cup. So if you were going to draw fluid ounces, you'd have to draw 8 fluid ounces inside of each of the cups. So that would be 8 and then 16, and you keep going up from there. You could use multiplication to figure out the number of fluid ounces in a cup to figure out how many are in a pint, and then in a quart, and then in a gallon. Okay, so let's go ahead and come down here and answer these questions together. How many cups are in a gallon? Okay, we just did that one. So how many cups, how many little C's do you see inside of this big letter G? I see, I'm going to count by 2s. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16. So you need to write 16 here on the line, and then don't forget your unit. Anytime we're measuring, we always have to put our unit. So if you put 16 on the line, that's really only about half correct. I'd even be willing to say it's like totally incorrect, because 16 doesn't mean anything unless you have its unit next to it. So 16C, the abbreviation for cups is C. How many cups are in a pint? So we're looking for how many of those little letter C's do you see in one of the P's? So in 1 pint, how many letter C's do you see? 2. So the answer to that question is 2 cups. Question number 3, how many pints are in a quart? So I'm looking for how many P's are inside of 1 letter Q. I see 1, 2 P's inside of 1 Q. So the answer to this question, how many pints are in a quart? 2 pints. Next question, how many quarts are in a gallon? We're looking for how many Q's are inside of a G. So we see 1, 2, 3, 4 quarts are inside of this big letter G. Next question, how many pints are in a gallon? We are going to be looking for how many P's are in a gallon. So I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 pints are in a gallon. Last question, how many cups are in a quart? How many C's, letter C's, back backwards. C's do you see in a quart, in a Q? So I see 1, 2, 3, 4 C's inside of 1 Q. So 4 cups are in a quart. So I hope that this has helped you understand a little bit on how to convert the units within the customary capacity section lesson. I'm pretty sure I said this in the introduction video. You are not going to have to convert the capacity to volume units. You will not have to cross convert like that at all. You are only going to need to know how to convert the customary units to other customary units within capacity. And then same thing with volume, which we're going to do tomorrow. So don't worry about converting pints to milliliters or anything like that. We're only going to be converting ounces to cups, cups to pints, pints to quarts, and quarts to gallons. I would like to challenge you. So we have 6 questions down here. I would like for you to come up with 6 questions of your own based on this gallon guide, challenging questions, and maybe ask your parents to convert, or have your parents come up with questions and then let you do some extra practice problems. There is a daily grade that is a part of the PDF attachment that I put on the Google Classroom, so those will be some extra good questions as well. But that is our lesson on customary capacity. Send me any messages if you have questions.